And sometimes you say, God, I'm ready. I'm ready to go forward. But you got some people around you. And they're not your generals. They're not your perennials. They're annuals. And God's going to take them. And it doesn't mean anything hateful is going to happen. It doesn't mean they've necessarily done anything wrong. It just means they're not for the next season. And I want to say this. I fought God and became angry at God. Angry at God in my first 2 winters for everyone who left. Because basically my attitude was, I'm working hard to make friends and you're taking them away. And I don't need any help. I fought him. I argued with him. You can do miracles, change them, don't take them. He doesn't take my counsel. You know, it's offensive to me, but God did not recruit me for my brains. You know, I don't know why. Listen, here's what I have now found out when spiritual winter sets in. Who do you want? They're yours. They're yours. I won't fight you for one person. Take them. Take them. They don't belong to me. They belong to you. And when winter sets in and God is trying to extract annuals from your life and you're grabbing onto them saying, I don't want them to go. They're mine. I like them. They're pretty. God says, well, we can make this easier. We can make this hard. But they're going to go. So, the second reason for spiritual winter is to reveal the annuals and the perennials. Very important thing. Number 3, purpose of spiritual winter. Winter forces you to expand your wardrobe or to suffer and risk possible death. It forces you to expand your wardrobe. That's interesting. You know, in the summer, you slough off clothes. Just what you do. It gets hot. You just kind of get a little bit more carefree. But in the winter, clothing is mandatory. Let me tell you 2 things that I've learned to wear at all times that God says are essential. The number 1 is the garment of praise. Psalm 34:1 says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. David wrote that at the low point of his life. Many of the Psalms that we sing about and that we quote were written at a terrible time in David's life, and what he had learned is, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. And when I went through the first couple of spiritual winters that I went through, I whined the entire time through it. Got angry at God. I mean angry at God. And I would just sit and sulk and whine and be negative and depressed and just sit there and say all kinds of bad things. And I remember right in the big middle of my pity party in one of my spiritual winters, God showing up and say, praise me. And you know what my response was? You give me a reason, I'll be happy to. One reason. But there ain't nothing going on right now for me to praise you about. And God said, oh, really? Really? Is that right? You know, I've never gone into one of my pity parties and God showed up and said, well, I understand that. Yeah, I just will. Bless his heart. I feel so bad. You know, all self-pity is an accusation against God. You know that, don't you? You're not a good father. You don't provide. You're not taking care of me. You're not paying attention. Where in the world are you? And the reason that God doesn't respond to it, because he's saying, I'm here, I love you, everything's okay. Just trust me. In fact, just go ahead and praise me. Because all my promises are true. Well, I want to see them before they come true. And God says, well, the nature of faith is you're going to have to believe me before it happens. And I just remember the first time that I praised God before I could see what I was praising him for. And I had to put on a garment of praise. I tell you, that self-pity is a damaging thing. I was an expert at it. The second thing that I found out that you have to wear at all times is the full armor of God. You have a tendency in the good times to kind of slough off armor because times are good. Everybody's kind of with you. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of things going on. You kind of get a little sloppy in the way you're living. But when spiritual winter sets in, basically spiritual winter is a wake-up call for naked soldiers, basically. That's what it is. And God is saying it's time to get ready for war. Put your armor back on. Well, so I took over the church, 29 years old. I was about 39 or so, or 40. Church had been going on 10 or 11 years, and I went through my second spiritual winter. A group of people just woke up one day and decided they didn't like me. And there were a good number of them. And they just kind of went into a little brouhaha. And church was about 3,000 or 4,000 at that time. These were maybe 20 or 30 people, but they were well placed. And what I have found is that most people that I have dealt with who are difficult people, they're just nice people. They're just, whatever. They're nice people. Well, I mean, really, they're not bad people just because they don't like me. They're nice, but they may have issues, but so do I. What I have found, though, a few of them are evil. Did I say that diplomatically enough? A few of them are just downright evil. Well, in this particular season that I was in, the people that were displeased with me, they were just people. Most of them were. One of them was evil. One of them was evil. Okay. She happened to be a woman. It could have been a man, but this one was a woman. And oh, God, help me. And I'm just telling you, it was just awful. It was just absolutely awful. And a spirit, this was a Jezebel spirit. For any of you who are in ministry, I had read books on it, but I had never experienced it. It was a terrifying, terrible, terrible ordeal in my life. It felt like a 200-pound weight laying on top of me, sucking the life out of me. I begged God to kill me, and I mean that literally. I begged God during that time in my life to kill me. And when it says that Elijah was dealing with Jezebel and he wanted to die, well, I just death was better than life, and I begged God to kill me at that point in my life. It was amazing the effect that spirit had on me. And I remember sitting in my office one day praying. My self-pity mode was in full swing. And I was angry at God, totally angry at God over the whole deal. And I told God, I said, "You're so hard to work for. We're down here just I did. I said, "We're beating our head against the wall down here and we get no help from you." I mean, that's what I said to him. It's like that. And Karen said, and I had always bragged and told people I've never been angry at God. Well, I blew that no-hitter right there. I was really, really mad. So I was sitting there one day, and I was praying, and I'm just telling you, I had never sensed anything evil in our home until then. And this thing was just on me. And I was praying one day, and I said, "Lord, help your servant, is struggling and hurting and help." And this is the little message that came from God. "You'll fight or you'll perish." And I just thought, what is that? Give me a little sympathy here. I found there are two things that God just has no sympathy for in my life. I don't know about yours. Stress. You can complain about stress all day long. It's like God says, "Slow down." It's a self-inflicted wound. I mean, it's not like God saying, "Well, I know I'm causing that." His yoke is easy, his burden is light. Now, that's the only verse in the Bible I ever thought was absolutely untrue. But I'm like, "You're killing me." He thought, "Well, it's not me." Well, the other thing God has no self-pity for is feelings of helplessness or hopelessness. When we have been given the authority of Jesus Christ, we're simply not helpless. "I give you authority to tread upon serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means harm you." That is assuming we use the authority.